So our plan today is we are going to review the first 2 days of all your trig material. So your amplitude, your period, your frequency, your phase shift when applicable. And then tomorrow you do have a quiz on problems that are just like these questions. On your quiz, I did not give you a trig graph that you have to generate. You're just basically building all the information. So over to your notebook somewhere where you've got some space. And just start right with the first question here. So some of these are a little bit wordy, so do your best to abbreviate. And I'm going to start and move forward with these. Let's say quiz A review. We kind of change them up. Some of these sine curves, some of these cosine curves. So first example, I'm going to say you are given. I'm going to go f of theta equal to, and let's say you have -2 sine theta. And I want you to find all this information, basically everything. So we're going to say state the amplitude. We're going to state the amplitude, the frequency, the period, and phase shift if you have one. So amplitude, frequency, period, and phase shift. All the critical information that you need to know. Okay, so who remembers? I know it's been a couple of days. I have -2 sine theta. So what is the amplitude? Is it 2 or is it -2? +2. So I'm going to do this just for the purpose of your notes. So amplitude is equal to the absolute value of -2, which is equal to 2. Amplitude is never negative. So amplitude never negative. Again, a lot of you have been in and out, so I just want to do a nice thorough review, try to get everyone up to speed and make sure we're comfortable with all those vocab terms. Next, I want to look for the frequency. Your frequency is always going to be the coefficient in front of either theta or x. So what's the frequency this time? Just 1. Yep. Again, it would be right in front of this theta, so there's like a 1 right there. Next thing that you needed to find is your period. So there's a formula. Anyone remember? Yep. 2 pi over frequency. Good. And remember that frequency is the letter B if you want to use B instead. 2 pi over B. You do have to memorize it. It's not on the formula sheet anywhere. So for this particular case, we're going to do 2 pi divided by 1, which is just 2 pi. And I want you to kind of be fluent between radians and degrees. I'm going to make you write it both ways. Good practice. What's 2 pi in degrees? Exactly. So 360 degrees as well. Just so you can go back and forth. Then I asked you for the phase shift. So phase shift is always going to be located inside your parentheses, but do you even have parentheses here? No, so phase shift is 0. So I'll just take that and then move on to the next. Phase shift, you don't have one. You can say none, you can say 0. All set. How do we feel to stating all of those features? Pretty good? Okay. So here's another one. Number 2, and then here is all your given information. I'm going to say given, I'd number these, that would be helpful. So given, let's say f of theta equal to 0.5 sine of theta minus pi over 3. This equation is presented in what mode? Degrees or radians? radians. This is radians. And 180 divided by 3 is 60. Yep. So this is radian for this one. And the degree measure would be equivalent to 60, just if it helps you to kind of go back and forth between those. So pi over 3 would be your radians. I'm going to find everything again. So I'm going to say find your amplitude, your frequency, the period and the phase shift. So period and phase shift. So everything. All right, so amplitude in this case is going to be 0.5, 1/2. Next, your B is your frequency value. So yep, you can use the letters too if that's helpful. What's our frequency again? Yeah, just 1. Then I'm going to do period is equal to 2 pi divided by frequency, which again is just 2 pi divided by 1, which is 2 pi. Again, just in your head, make sure that you are aware that is equivalent to 360 degrees. And then I asked you for a phase shift. Does this one have a phase shift? Yes. So I'm going to do here phase shift. This is another formula. And this is equivalent to negative C divided by B. So your negative C is negative pi over 3. So I have a double negative pi over 3 over my frequency, which was just 1. So your phase shift is equal to pi over 3. And pi over 3 degrees is equal to 60. Yep. Perfect. All right. How are those first two? Everyone feeling pretty comfortable? Good. All right. Next example. Oh, number 3 here. Let's say given f of theta equal to negative 1.5 sine of parentheses, let's go 4 theta minus pi over 4. So this equation is in radians. So first, amplitude. So amplitude is equal here to absolute value negative 1.5. You can't have a negative height. That is what amplitude stands for. So 1.5. What about frequency this time? Good. So we're going to do period equals 2 pi divided by B. So this is going to be 2 pi divided by 4, which reduces to pi over 2, which is equivalent to, remember, 180 over 2, 90 degrees. Yep. 90 degrees. All right, next item that you're going to need is a phase shift. Does this have a phase shift? Yes, it does. So somewhere you've got some space, we're going to do a phase shift. And your formula for the phase shift is equal to negative C divided by B. And you're going to sub into this. So I don't know what the phase shift is, so I'm going to do negative pi over 4, and then divide it by 4. No, you can't leave it like that. You got to work with this and do your teaching. So this would be equal to pi over 4 times, flip it, 1 over 4, which would be equal to pi over 16. Anyone have a degree equivalence for this? 180 over 16. It's okay. You don't need to have it. So I'll leave that one right there. Okay. How do we feel moving forward like that? All right, let's go backwards. So now I'm going to ask you to generate the equation given all the information. All right, so I'm at number 4 here. Back to the swing of things, right? On this very cold morning. All right, so now your task is to write the equation. So we're going to write the equation here. Here's what I'm going to give you for the first one. So given, we're going to say a sine function. So given a sine function, so you will be told whether it's sine or cosine, where the amplitude, you can abbreviate of course, is going to be 0.75. And I'm going to give you the period is 2 pi. The period equal to 2 pi. And let's go phase shift of pi over 6. So phase shift equal to pi over 6. Okay. So let's start with what you know here. So I'm going to either start this with y equals alpha theta, whatever your preference is. So I know f of theta equals. Okay, where does the 0.75 go? In the front. What do I need in front of it? Positive or? Excellent. So I go plus and minus 0.75. Because remember, it could have been negative, and we always take the absolute value. And then I have a sine curve. And I'm seeing a phase shift, so I know I'm going to have this. Let's keep working with the next piece of information. You're given the period. The period doesn't directly display into your equation, so you're going to use it to find the frequency instead. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to do period equals 2 pi over frequency. The period equals 2 pi over frequency. And I know that 2 pi would be equal to 2 pi divided by what? 1, yeah. I mean, you could really solve that if you needed to, but really not necessary. So b is equal to 1. So I would technically have 1 theta. Now I continue and I need to find the c value. I have the phase shift and I have the b. So I'm going to do phase shift is equal to. So phase shift is equal to negative c divided by b. And you should have at least 2 of those 3 items. We know the phase shift is pi over 6. And that is equal to negative c divided by 1. So what's c equal to? Negative pi over 6. And then you're good. So that's the last piece of information you needed. So minus pi over 6. How's that going backwards? Okay, so far? Okay, I'm going to give you 2 more of those. Just again, I know it's been a long break to get everyone back on the same page. So number 5, I'm going to give you this time a cosine function. To say given all this information, so let's say we have a cosine function. And you're going to have amplitude 3.75. Amplitude equal to 3.75. And I want to do period equal to pi over 2. Period is pi over 2. And phase shift is 4 degrees. Do you notice how this is mixed? Okay, so we got to change one of these. The easiest one to change is probably the period. So pi over 2 is equal to what in degrees? 90, yep. Okay, let's do the whole thing in degrees. So we're going to start with our cosine function. So we're going to say f of theta equals, start with your amplitude, it's the easiest. What goes in front of the 3.75? Plus or minus, yep. 3.75 cos instead, parentheses, and let's find the information. So I need to find my frequency. I'm going to do, again, period is equal to, and instead of doing 2 pi over frequency, I'm going to go 360 over frequency. So I'm going to substitute in 90 is equal to 360 over b and cross multiply. So 90b is equal to 360, and 360 divided by 90 is equal to b value of 4. So first thing I plug in is the 4 and the theta. Next, I'm going to work with the phase shift. So for my phase shift, I know that phase shift is equal to negative c divided by b. Plug in what you know. You know the phase shift is 4. And you know the b value is also 4. Cross multiply. I have negative c is equal to 16, therefore c is equal to negative 16. And that goes right here. How do we feel in 5? Pretty good? Okay, I'm going to give you one more review question. Then you can kind of get yourself situated and figure out what you need. All right, so number 6. I'm going to do cosine again. Let's say given cosine function. This is a cosine function. And let's say we have an amplitude equal to 12. And a period of 45. So that indicates degrees. And a phase shift of 180 degrees. So phase shift 180. Again, say my name. I just want to find your function. So that is everything you got. So I'm going to start with f of theta equals. The 12 needs the plus and minus attached to it. And then cosine. So first, let's start with finding the frequency. So I know that period is equal to 2 pi over frequency, but this time instead of 2 pi, you're going to go 360 over b. So we are going to go 45 is equal to 360 over b. And I have 45b equal to 360. And go ahead and do 360 divided by 45. You guys get 8? Yep, so b is equal to 8. I'm going to just fill it in as we go. So here I have 8 theta. And then last, I need to work with phase shift again. I'm going to say phase shift is equal to negative c divided by b. So phase shift equal to negative c divided by b. What do we have here? 180 degrees. is equal to negative C, and we just found the frequency was 8. Who's got a calculator? What is 180 times 8? 1440, thank you. So 1,440 is equal to negative C. So therefore C is equal to negative 1,440. Okay. All right, how's everyone feeling on those concepts? Everyone feeling good? You guys confident for a quiz on just those items? Okay. There's some of you I need to touch base with that have like old missing tests, quizzes, things to finish up, but you've got 10 minutes to kind of get yourselves organized. Again, I'm going to come around and need to check in with some of you. In the event that you are absent this week, please follow your Google Doc. Again, everything is posted there for you, and as people are absent, I'll keep continuing to record so that if you're missing, you don't fall behind. Okay, so tomorrow when you come in, you've got a quiz to do. Work on getting yourselves caught up too, please, and show me assignments as you complete them.